Okay, so you have your ideal customer profile. Great. But do you have an ideal prospect profile? So just 3 short days away from leaving the US in the rearview mirror for a few months, working out of homes of friends or Airbnbs. And even though my mobile setup is working pretty well, and I think it looks pretty cool based on this, it all fits inside of my carry-on suitcase with the exception of the stands because they're just too heavy. It's working out pretty well. So what I worked on today was actually putting together a process for not only creating our internal customer avatars for our products and services, but also putting together our prospect avatars, because we actually have 2 sets of profiles. We have profiles for our actual products and services, and then we have a set of profiles for our content, because we create content to essentially grow an audience, and then we look to provide more value to that audience with our products and services. So you actually do need 2 different sets of profiles, and it wasn't until today that I realized I'd never explained the difference. So if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you're familiar with this chart that you're looking at, and it just goes through essentially the 4 phases of someone going from, I have no idea who you are to, yeah, I'll give you some money because I think you can actually be valuable. And so we have at the very top, we have our prospects, which is anyone in the world who would find value in our content. So this doesn't mean everyone, just people who would find value in it, even if they're not going to be necessarily a customer today. Because one of the other things you have to remember is part of content marketing is transforming people into customers. So just because someone's not going to be doing business with you today doesn't mean you shouldn't start that relationship development process. So there's a lot of content on this channel, for instance, and this is actually a testament to it working, that is very basic in terms of marketing, things like putting together your customer avatar. Most of our clients already have that put together or have some sort of idea. But if we want to eventually have new customers, we need to essentially show people that we can be valuable, help them along that journey until they're ready in their business to be a customer. We actually have a case study that we're working on of someone who's watched our YouTube ads, made a few $1,000s, and then called us up, and we were able to make him even more money because he was able to essentially build his business off the back of the free content that we provided. But if we had only focused on people who could afford our services, we never would have had that client. So you essentially eventually start making your own business and making your own clients. It's pretty cool. So that's essentially what we're doing here. We want our prospects and then we want our customers. So let's go ahead, dive right into this document, which is our internal documentation on how to actually create an ideal prospect and an ideal customer. So the main difference here is when you're doing prospect, you're much more broad and you're not focused on a specific product or service. So I'll show you the one section here that you would leave out if you're doing prospects, and with prospects you'll probably have multiple. But the place I like to start is looking for a general identifier. So in my particular instance here, I have small business owner, I have entrepreneur, then we could have marketing, we could be targeting marketing managers at particular larger corporate clients if that's what we were trying to do, or we could be going further down in terms of people who completely don't know what they want, someone who's unhappy at a corporate job and looking like how to make money online and is thinking about starting this whole business thing. We tend not to go that far. I like to create content for people who already know what business they want, but that would be an example of creating your own customers, because then you've essentially connected with someone who had no idea what business they wanted to start, and you have content and maybe some small products that kind of bring them up to speed, and then they go, yeah, actually, I really want this business. I want to take it to the next level. Let's hire these guys to do advertising or whatever it may be. We just don't tend not to go that far back, but that's how you'd want to think in terms of your prospects. I know it's counterintuitive because we're talking about people who may not do business with you for years, but it is important, especially in this overcrowded marketplace, because the closer you get to people who are willing to actually pay within a month or two, the more expensive it's going to be to actually convert those people, as opposed to ones that are way off in the distance who nobody wants to talk to yet because they're just not ready. There's a larger audience and a smaller percentage of people are going to make it through. But over time, as I've personally experienced, it is definitely worth it. So 5 words that just describes the prospect. That was a bit of a tangent there. Now, if you're doing an ideal customer, you're going to do the product solution. If you're doing an ideal prospect, prospect, just leave it alone. Now, for demographic information, you're actually going to want to use your own Google Analytics. If you don't have analytics set up, or you don't have enough traffic, that's okay. Link in the description to a video that walks you through how to use Facebook Audience Insights to get the same information from your competitors or other influencers in your niche. So I'm going to jump down here and really jump into the 4 big kind of questions or lists that you need to make. And the first one is very basic, and that is, what are the results your ideal prospects and customers want? Now, this might actually be different, and this is going to really help you with your content marketing, because this is going to tell you what your content should ultimately be about, and it's going to help you develop your content pillars so you don't talk about the same thing over and over and over again. So with a prospect, you really want a broad spectrum of problems related to your specific niche or industry, and then what do they think is in the way? Not what do you and I think is getting in the way, because we might look at it and go, oh, you just need to do this, but sometimes people don't want to listen. Sometimes they want to do A, B, C, D. They want some overly complex solution when really they just have to flip a switch. But that's okay. Content is all about giving them this complexity and in the end saying, okay, if you liked what this is, you'd probably like this over here where you just flip a switch. But if you try and preach to people who aren't ready to listen, then you're in for just falling on deaf ears. And then the second part is where it gets a lot more nebulous. And this is where I like to say that your customers aren't different, but they are unique. So someone who wants to be more active, like an elderly person who wants to be more active and is dealing with just getting old, or someone who is struggling with their advertising, those two people are going to have the same problems of their mobility is lessening, or their ads aren't working. I promise you'll see why I'm doing these 2 silly examples in a moment here. But why they want to move around is unique, or why someone wants to break through with their advertising is unique, because someone who's an entrepreneur trying to break through their advertising probably has very different aspirations than a small business owner who's been in business 10 years and is watching their business, dry up because of what's going on in the digital landscape. So they'll have different aspirations. And the reason that these aspirations and fears are important is because this is where your marketing creative comes in. So for example, I'm sure you've seen some sort of ad that's targeted towards entrepreneurs and it involves traveling or the beach. That has nothing to do with all of this. That has nothing to do with putting together business. That has nothing to do with what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years. It has nothing to do with what it takes to be successful with a business. But it does represent what people aspire to enjoy, what people envision when they have a business that gives them freedom. For some reason, they think they're just going to go work on the beach or be able to travel the world and still, grow a multi-million-dollar business. I'm sure there's some people that can do that, but it has nothing to actually do with the results that they want. But it does explain why they want those results. Similar, if you've ever seen an advertisement for any drug in the US, it's always featuring old people and they're out and about, they're playing with their friends, or they get to play with their I shouldn't say playing with their friends, they're out with their friends or they're playing with their grandkids. Well, that's just something they get to do as a result of fixing the problem of mobility, which apparently the drug solves. Not that I'm endorsing any of that, but those are just 2 examples of why you see that type of imagery and why it's important to go through this, because when you go through the aspirations, you go through the fears, you're able to create imagery and creative that speaks to those deeper, unique emotions or desires that don't necessarily have anything to do with the results that they are after. So I sincerely hope that makes sense. I probably did 3 or 4 takes of that part alone, just because I was trying to get it down and succinct, but I'm pretty sure I'm going way over. But once you have all of that, then you'll go through, if you're doing an ideal customer avatar, you'll go through the immediate concerns. So with a prospect, you just need to do the psychographics and then you're done. So you're probably going to have anywhere from 5 to 7 prospect profiles by the time you're done, and that's just going to help you create a large breadth of content, because you really want to approach your content and social media marketing as if you were a media company specifically for your niche or industry.
One eternity later.
And now that's the and now that the plane is gone, completely lost my train of thought there. So your immediate concerns will help you when you're developing an ideal customer profile, not necessarily for content with your prospects, and that will just help you with your sales process and knowing what specifically you should talk about in your advertising. And then of course, if you have other, results or aspirations or fears that aren't as large or just kind of the big 3 or 4, then you can use those throughout your email marketing as well. So really, this is all designed to give you a strong copy foundation for everything else that you're going to do in your funnel. So for instance, when you're looking at desired results and roadblocks, these are exactly what you're going to use to write your headline for your landing pages. The aspirations and fears are exactly what you're going to use to craft your case studies and customer stories in your email sequences that ultimately sell your product or service. Now, if we're looking at it from a prospect perspective, well, desired results and roadblocks, that's going to tell you what type of content to make. You're going to know, I should make a video about how to solve X, or I should make a video with people struggling with Y. And then the emotional drivers and aspirations are going to help you relate on a deeper emotional level with your audience as prospects. So the final thing here is just make sure you have a comprehensive list of all of the influencers, magazines, blogs, websites, medias, and brands that your prospects and customers are already engaging with, because they're either potential collaborators or potential sources of inspiration for creating your sales copy or what type of content to put together. And then finally, you'll go ahead and craft a customer avatar story, although I will not get into this because I realize I've been talking way too long. So I just want to go through a quick example of one of our prospect avatars. So we actually do use data. So the locations and the age, the income, that all comes straight out of Google Analytics and YouTube Analytics. I didn't make this up out of thin air. We do have multiple profiles though, based upon different countries and locations. So obviously if we're talking about someone who is in a different part of the world, 55K would be a different number, but some of these other things are the same. And so I went ahead and went through, talked about the results that they're after, talked about the perceived roadblocks, and then of course we'd go ahead and finish up with aspirations and fears. I just didn't have time to go through it all. And then influencers and people that they're watching. This is just straight out of the Facebook Audience Insights. I actually don't even know all of these people. I just know they showed up in Facebook Audience Insights, so I better figure out who they are. And that's all there is to it, to crafting your prospect profile and your customer avatar profile, or they're both avatar profiles, but your prospect profile and your customer profile. Realize this is just a vlog of me sitting here talking, but I am so tired from moving. I literally have 2 days. This is day number 3. So in less than 72 hours, I will be on a plane. So I'm squeezing in these vlogs, squeezing every last opportunity before I'm just going to be jet lagged for like a week. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this one. And thank you so much for your support and joining me on this crazy journey. One more vlog before I take a 3-week hiatus. So until the next, keep building the business you love.